and it's 10 floors high. 5 are the stage, and then subterranean 5. And then above the stage are another 5, which lead to the roof. So I started the tour and went all the way down to the lake. Now, it may occur to you that there is what is that lake, and is it a romantic lake, or what, you know, how does it work? It's architectural. Paris is built on sand, and this extremely heavy piece of architecture, which is the Paris Opera House, they floated a lake under it to settle the sand so that the house would always, I guess the word is, be balanced in some way. The structure would be protected. So you take them down there, around very Gothic stairs, and then you take them to a place where there's a grate, and you're given a coin, and you drop it, and you hear it plunk into the water. And they told me that on occasion, when they want to do a publicity campaign, they drain the lake temporarily to a few feet, and then they take a ballet girl down and a little boat, and they take photographs of her in a rowboat or whatever, and they use them for publicity reasons, and they restore the water. The other thing that you might be interested in is on the stage level of the theater, upstage, right at the edge of what would appear to be the rear wall of the stage, is in fact a door leading to a perfectly beautiful room, all red velvet and red brocade, and little tables where the ballet dancers entertained the young members of the royalty who they were the mistresses of, or dating, or whatever. And they did this during operas. So the room would always be full of dandies with high hats on. Everybody all the men wore high hats all the time. They wore them in restaurants. They wore them backstage. Obviously, they took them off at performance unless they were in a box seeing the show. But they entertained the men there, and then they'd go back out on stage and dance, as art dancing girls do, and then they'd go back and entertain these fellows. So that's the stage level. Entertain in very limited way. I really mean serve a glass of champagne and tell them how handsome they were. There was plenty of decorum at the opera. And then you walk up, and then you went to the dressing room floor. And it's interesting, I remember the dressing room very well, and our dressing room has the same proportions. Very, very high ceiling, very, very large mirrors, not very commodious rooms, usually a couch or a chaise, and so on, and always a dummy with a costume on it that the leading lady would wear later on. But this is very much a model of what were many dressing rooms. Then you walk on, and another dressing room is a chorus rehearsal room, and then you go up past the flies, and then suddenly you find yourself on the roof of the Paris Opera, which is it's probably a square path, and then above that becomes the tower, and it was a windy day, and the fellow who was showing me around said, there were angels, there were gold angels on all four corners of the Opera House, and the department store, the Gallery Lafayette, is across the street, and this is a little over it. And then he said, and then of course you have the glass roof. And he said, I assume you don't want to climb that. I said, you're wrong. Your assumption's wrong. I want to climb it. And he said, okay, there's not a path. There's nothing much you can hold on to. And it was windy. But I walked up slowly, and I went to the very peak of that glass section, and I put 1 foot over one side and 1 foot over the other, and I looked down the Place de l'Opéra, and it just really is quite an extraordinary and exciting thing to have done. By the time I came down and left the Opera House, interestingly enough, the man who ran the Opera House came and met me and said, would you like to work here? And I said, yes, I would. And he said, well, just tell me what opera you'd like to do. And that's death to me. People have to tell me what they want me to do. There are too damn many operas, and I don't have somehow the mechanics to say, oh, I'd love to do, you know, Pique Dame or one of those things. I just don't know. So I never did take him up on it. But I did leave Paris, and at one point, Cameron McIntosh, who was the lead producer, sent me 5 sets of photographs of from potential designers, and I looked at them, and they were all good. They were all people who could have designed the show, but the design that caught my eye was the least likely design you would ever imagine, given the show that's here. It was of a Strindberg play. It was all wood, slatted windows. It was an enormously appropriate space to do a Strindberg play, and it just had intelligent creativity written all over it. And I said, this is the one. And I said, who did it? And he said, Maria Bjornson. And I think it was an odd choice, but it was me to, depending on some great sense of taste, which was hers. And we met. And then the trips to London, which had been probably half a dozen to Andrew to work, were followed by, I would say, a dozen trips to London by me, and probably 4 or 5 trips to New York by her. And we just coalesced, and the whole design of the show grew out of those meetings, which took the better part of a year, I guess. The time came to show the scenery and the production and the half-inch model, which you've seen, some of you've seen earlier today. It's different. It's the one we have here, but it was also a half-inch model, which is a rather large scale. And Cameron and Andrew were going to come in to see it. And by God, I suddenly realized we had no costumes. And I said to Maria, I mean, we've totally forgotten the costumes. Oh, sure, no, I haven't forgotten the costumes. I do about 50 a day, and there's no problem at all. And I thought, well, I've come to trust your artistic aesthetic, so that, my God, it's probably true.